Last night I decided to do something a little bit stupid. In MW3 Zombies, the tier 3 high threat zone is a place that most people won't even enter with a full squad, multiple Wonderwaff wonder weapons, and lots of perks. So I decided to go there by myself without any guns at all to see how many contracts I could complete, and the results were so much better than I could have ever expected. A like is really appreciated because this was super difficult. Maybe subscribe and tell me about your experiences in the tier 3 zone so far. After jumping into the map, my first goal was to get a few perks because running into the tier 3 zone without any is never going to end well, but then again, neither is challenging the mercenaries that are patrolling the map. And the last thing I needed before running in was a few armor plates, so I climbed into a car and ran over enough zombies to fill up my bag. Once we were inside, there's no going back, and before I can even get inside of the area properly, both my armor plates were taken. There's no better explanation for this area than that, honestly. It is designed to kill you as brutally and efficiently as possible. There was actually another squad who decided to run around here as well, so I decided to hang out with them for a little bit, seeing if they needed any help from the mighty fists of fury. One thing they did bring in with them was eventually I came across the ether bike, but the results weren't promising at first, to say the least. If you've never had the ether bike, it's a rideable wonder weapon sort of thing that has a ton of health and charges its own unique field upgrade by running over zombies. Until right now, I had never used it or even seen it around the map, so it took me a couple of minutes to figure out what it was actually capable of. But in the meantime, a fellow gamer needed our help, so I revived him, and at first he looked extremely confused, probably because he wasn't expecting someone in here to come and help him out, especially since it looked like his teammates bailed on him. Once I was fully comfortable, it was time to accept our first eliminate the bounty contract with the help of our bike friend. It turned out to be a little bit more complicated than I thought though, because unlike the regular zombies, running the ether bike into boss zombies just moves them to the side, seemingly without taking any damage, or at least I think so, because the Mangler boss somehow ended up losing 40% of its health, and I'm not sure if it's because of the bike or because of the Casimir mechanism I threw near him. But screw it, I'll take any help I can get at this point because this thing has so much health that it's unbelievable. Getting back onto the bike and finally realizing that I could use the ether pulse didn't give me the results I was expecting because the first use didn't appear to damage the Mangler at all. At this point I was so confused, I just had to keep trying though, and the server lag was skipping me all over the place, which made things even more difficult. The bike then flipped over, causing me a ton of damage and made me poop myself just a tiny bit because I almost died. Eventually another ether pulse was charged, so I drove back around, popped it, and we've killed the Mangler, which is a huge W, but sadly no schematics, so it's also an L. After that, I got a little bit bold and started another eliminate the bounty contract, but it happened to be the Mega Abomination, which is going to be so much harder than a Mangler, especially because now my ether bike finally ran out of health and exploded. When I finally got a look at the Mega Abomination, it became clear that we're going to need to come back to this one eventually. To save my stuff, I went for the exfil, and as I was leaving the tier 3 area, I swam away, turned around for a second to look at the zombies, and got instantly downed by them throwing flesh at me. That means that in this next game, we're only going to have 1 bar of armor, making me so much more vulnerable. So once again, I grabbed Juggernog and Stamina Up and headed back into the tier 3 zone. And deciding to do things a little bit more safe than the last time, I picked up a deliver cargo contract, which means I'll be inside of a car for most of it and will hopefully keep me safe. Grabbing the contract is always a little bit nerve-wracking, and on the way to the delivery vehicle, I remembered that there's mercenaries inside who can hurt me, plus the zombies on the outside. In order to get around this, my big brain idea was to open the garage door, throw a flashbang, and pray as I entered the car that nothing would take me down. They almost got me, but once we were inside of the car, I took a really safe route around the Opal Palace area and was able to complete our contract. Once again, sadly no schematics, but we did get a 3-plate armor vest, meaning the next contract that we take can be so much more bold than the last one. We're going to be doing spore control with only our fists. If you've never done spore control, then the basic idea is that you pick up these little inhibitors which you throw near the eggs. After a few seconds, the eggs will become more vulnerable and people will usually shoot them, but obviously we're punching them and it takes like 25 punches to get through each egg. The little smoke around it also takes away your armor, plus the hellhounds and zombies damaging me as I run by since they're never really that far behind. When 2 of the spores were done, I noticed that there was an ammo cache nearby where I'm able to pick up my Molotovs every 60 seconds. Sadly, they don't work on the spores, meaning that I do still need to punch them to death, but at least I'm able to throw them at the hellhounds and the zombies who have a decent chance to drop armor plates. And after a while, it became basically a war of wills. I have the patience to punch these things all day, but I really need armor, otherwise I'm just going to be hitting the floor faster than old people falling down the stairs. It also didn't help that at some point the inhibitor I was using stopped working, so I was unknowingly punching the egg for a couple of minutes without dealing any damage at all. The 5th spore was definitely the hardest, since it seemed like no matter what I did, either no armor plates would spawn, or as soon as I would get one, something would smack me and take it away. When it was time for the last spore, I popped an ether shroud and just punched it enough time to finally be able to finish the contract. Still not done yet though, because after I punched a low health mangler to death, it's time to take on the contract I have been avoiding until now. Raid weapon stash seems easy, but when there's almost 100 zombies rushing to one building, and pretty much all of them are super sprinters, it becomes nearly impossible. I tried as best as I could, but after only getting to 15% completion, I decided to get out with my life to help preserve my armor vest. In the next game, I went back in with a vengeance and a plan. Our first goal was to complete the deliver cargo contract first, because it might drop some good loot, and we've already done it, so we know that it can be done again pretty easily. But seriously, if you're going to do this objective, then take the route I am here, because it's the safest possible one, and you will be successful 100% of the time, and it should help you to farm tier 3 contracts. We did get rewarded with a self-revive, which is pretty nice, but again, still no schematics. I got sidetracked after this by watching these guys wander around the tier 3 zone, because it's just fascinating to try and see other people survive here. And because I think one of these guys took my contract that I wanted, we need to go into another game and actually start all over. And as to be expected at this point, the first contract of the game was once again a deliver cargo, basically just to see if it'll give me a schematic or something else really useful. But of course, none of them dropped for me, making us 0 for 5 in this video on contracts giving schematics, which just makes me so sad inside. But in this game, I wanted to get as many objectives done as I could, since we've still got the 3-plate armor vest, and I wanted to take advantage of that. So once again, I headed into the Opal Palace for spore control. You know the rules, just like last time where the spores take forever to get rid of, but this time round I was much more comfortable and was pretty recklessly diving in for damage. At any time I could have died instantly with how strong these zombies are, but somehow that didn't happen despite me being my own worst enemy. Just like last time, the armor plates began to dry up quickly as I was trying to speed up the contract. I did have slightly better luck though, with not as many zombies spawning in as the last time. And as I was trying to finish out the last spore, a mangler threw his energy blast to me as the zombies also caught up, leading to me taking it down. Luckily, I still had a self-revive from the other game to pick myself back up, and we could finish our 6th contract, which I still think is absolutely wild. When that contract was done and I was running around talking to Chad, I opened up a little ether cache and noticed that there was a cryo freeze turret circuit in there. That means we are about to do something really fun. I didn't know about this until Chad told me, so I was finding out on the fly as well. So I ran over to an eliminate the bounty contract and headed over to where the mega abomination was. It actually took me an embarrassing number of attempts to figure out how to load the circuit into the turret, because I had never used it before and expected to just hit one button and be good, but it really wasn't. Finally, the turret was loaded up with the help of an energy mine, and watch this thing absolutely shred. The mega abomination is probably the strongest non-Orcus boss in MW3 zombies, and the turret melted it in like 15 seconds, which is completely ridiculous. I was basically in shock, since Chad told me that it would be strong, but never did I think that it was going to be that strong. But hey, I mean, that's 7 contracts we've completed today. All of those solo without using any guns at all, and I think that deserves a like if you want to be nice, and a sub as well if you're a giga-based individual. Now go watch this video on screen right now of me explaining how to get every perk for free in MW3 zombies. Thank you for watching, love you, bye bye.